Well, after the Riot layoffs happened, I did not think there would be someone else saying hold my beer so quickly. That's right, in case you ever needed to prove that the gaming sphere is currently imploding, it happened just a few days ago. Right after Riot announced that they are laying off over 500 of their employees, Microsoft came in and they announced that they are laying off over 1,500, of which most people were pushed from Activision and Blizzard. But the news didn't stop there. On top of just letting so many people go, Mike Ibarra, the former head of Blizzard, announced that he's going to. That is after he said that someone would have to drag him out of Blizzard. But also, Blizzard decided to cancel their survival game, which they have worked on for 6 years. Needless to say, developers are just leaving gaming against their will left and right. And as we look back at all the people who left Riot, you may notice that something's odd. Something is not quite right. I mean, first of all, remember when last year Riot signed the biggest budget for League of Legends we have ever had? It was obvious it would take a while for that budget to actually be seen around League. It's not like the money will immediately give you back some products the same year. But at the same time, this is not what I expect would follow that. But also, if you specifically look at what people left Riot, those are not people I would expect to be laid off. We are talking about people that have been part of Riot for over 7 years. At that point, one could assume you don't really have to train that person and that they can work quite efficiently. So why would someone let them go? What's even weirder is that some of these come from senior positions. It is not just people who joined recently, after which Riot realized that they don't really have work for them and so they let them go again. No, they actually removed people who have been part of Riot over 7 years and they had some of the highest positions. That's what's so weird about all of this. Now, some people speculated that it is possible that the management just look at what worth each person has at Riot, and whoever could in theory generate the least amount of revenue would be let off. In theory, that is possible. But in practice, I don't believe that's the case, because as you'll see, for some reason, it is a lot of artists that were let go. Yeah, artists. There is no way Riot is thinking of using what I think they are, right? But yes, I do believe most of these layoffs were aimed at people who overlap with their job with someone else. And so instead of Riot keeping 2 veterans doing the same job, they only have 1 now. Which is still not exactly what I would expect. And it also brings up the question, is it possible that all of this was just random? Again, it all comes from all the people that were let go, but it really seems like totally random people from random positions. What if it was the work of some higher algorithm? If not, I have no idea what system Riot used for this. Because as you'll see, none of this makes sense. As an example, in their recent announcement, Riot said that they are refocusing on their 4 core games. That being League, TFT, Wild Rift, and Valorant. The thing is, they fired a lot of important people from those 4 core games. If Riot was refocusing on their core games, it would make sense for them to let go of people who are not part of this. But to announce that you are working on the core, but you also let go of people who are working on it, that's just weird. And so today, I wanna play a little game. A game which everyone hates. We're gonna go through some of the awesome devs who were confirmed to be impacted, and we're gonna see if you can keep your jaw closed. Whoever keeps it closed longest wins. For example, why don't we talk about Ray, the quality assurance lead at League of Legends? Yeah, letting go of your quality assurance is not a flag I wanna see. What about James Hara? A former senior game designer on the Summoner's Rift team. You know how League recently updated the Summoner's Rift? Yeah, that's the team that did this. Did they do all of this work and then Riot was like, nah, we can do it without them? And what about Matt, who used to be the senior environmental artist at Valorant? Yeah, you know the game that's kinda known for its extremely stylized, awesome visuals? Yeah, well, that just took a hit. But don't worry, just to prove that randomly all roles were affected. What about Sami, who was the creative producer at Riot's music? You know how Riot has awesome reputation for doing amazing things with its music? I guess Heartsteel didn't do that well after all. Next, from another senior role, we have Isaac Chan, who was a senior game producer at Riot. Like, that is not a role you just randomly get. That's something you actually have to work hard for. But I guess Riot doesn't need that vision anymore. Which is followed by something that's just absolute insanity. Because yes, Riot Raptor got impacted as well. In case you don't know, this is a champion designer who worked on Naafiri and who helped fix Rel. Not to mention, they were the lead designer on Path of Champions for Legends of Runeterra. You know, the game mode that single-handedly pulled Legends of Runeterra back to reality? Well, I guess that doesn't really mean anything, does it? But we're not done yet, Sabrina Fudge. You remember when after the Mage Seeker, the Katarina comic released and everyone agreed it was absolutely awesome? I have never seen this much awesome lore in any of Riot's comics before. Well, it turns out she was the narrative editor behind these and some of the past cinematics. This also includes the Sentinels of Light, which I know we can all agree it didn't really fit all together, but the comics were stellar. And she also did Seraphine's KDA, where everyone agreed that while Seraphine's normal lore was questionable, her KDA lore was pretty cool. Well, the person that's behind all of this is gone. Another one that's kinda shocking is Lavalier. In the past, this is someone who pulled off a lot of weight during their Overwatch times. After which they joined Riot and they were working on an R&D. That's research and development, which means a secret game that's brewing somewhere beneath Riot. You know what's a crappy one about that? If the writers are working on R&D projects, they can't even put them in their portfolio because they cannot talk about what they've done. That is part of R&D, it is all a secret. Which means if someone worked on an R&D project for like 5 years, well, they'd have nothing to show for it. In Lavalier's case, it especially sucks because only a year ago she posted how she joined Riot a year ago. And that's all she got. We should also highlight Zoe Chang, a CG animator at Riot. Excuse me, former CG animator. This would be anything from a cool trailer to a champion to cool augmented reality styled trailer. Especially around something like esports and stuff. Well, now Riot lost a talent which could be considered their marketing. After which we get one that I especially felt. Eman, a former sound designer at Riot Games. Now, you may be wondering, why is this one so special to me? Well, if you remember back in the day when I did Rift News and I covered all the new skins that came out in League all the time because I had nothing else to talk about because lore was frozen. When the High Noon skins came out, I heavily praised High Noon Mordekaiser. Because those sound effects are just stellar. From the rattling of demonic chains to the choo-choo train right behind Mordekaiser when he ults. This is a masterwork. Not only that, 3 months ago, he was part of a mini documentary at Riot. Life at Riot was a mini-series where they just highlighted some cool rioters at Riot who were impactful. He was there, showing how he's actually recording the cool sound effects. I mean, like, physically using the items to actually record them. They did not use a public library for those. What I wasn't aware is that this is also the person who was responsible for the original orchestral cover of the original Summoner's Rift theme. They were highlighted in a video on League's official channel from 7 years ago. How can Riot leave such a talent behind? This is what really makes me think that maybe they were really just pulling random numbers. Because next we also have Ian Martin, another writer who was originally part of Games Workshop where they wrote for Warhammer. This is a place where a lot of League's writers were before. Riot kinda slowly plucked them all from Games Workshop. What's crazy about this one is that, you remember Mordekaiser's cards in Legends of Runeterra? You know, one of the hypiest lore moments in a while? Yeah, after they wrote the entire narration for this, they were let go. Another absolutely crazy one is Riot King Cobra. This is the original designer behind the masterpieces such as Swain's Rework or Aurelian Soul. Yes, perhaps Aurelian's gameplay didn't work at the end, but my god, was that one of the most creative champions of that time. Well, they are no longer part of Riot. And what about our trusty concept artist, Nick? Do you like some of the most badass skins such as Star Guardian Akali, pricing aside? Yeah, they were the one who concepted them. After which, there is one that's absolutely mind-boggling. Riot Omu was let go. Do you know who Omu is? An ex-senior animator at Riot Games. He is responsible for the animations on so many different skins, it's insane. This is one of the most old-school veterans Riot had. And now, it's gone. Another questionable one is Riot Llama. They were working on Cassante, Smolder, and Skarner, so they were part of some of the most recent jobs. And now, after Smolder came out, they're gone too. This also reminds me, I'm not sure if this was Llama or Riot Raptor, whom, yes, as I said, they are also gone. But one of these guys was actually working on Shyvana's VGU. Well now, that talent is gone. And you know what that means? No matter who picks up Shyvana next, if people are mad, they will be directing that hate there. And they will be like, well, this wouldn't have happened if Riot didn't fire those other people. Just get ready for that one. Which is followed by one that I do not understand. Like, I actually don't understand how this happened. But Graham McNeil was let go. In case you don't know, Graham McNeil was part of the original trifecta of legendary writers at Riot Games. We got Laurie Golding, Anthony Reynolds, and Graham McNeil. Now, of course, there were some other absolutely legendary writers who were let go a while ago, and it wasn't nice. I can personally shout out Thermal Kitten and Matt Dunn. But in case you don't know who Graham McNeil is, he's one of the first Warhammer writers who joined Riot. With the first one, I believe, being Laurie Golding. And when these guys joined Riot the first time, there were quite a few articles about it on the internet. Because these guys are nuts. And specifically in Graham's case, he is responsible for pretty much half of the entire universe. And he is especially remembered for one of the best stories in the entirety of League of Legends. That being where Ikathia once stood. How is it possible that Riot doesn't have spot for someone like him? This one actually goes beyond me. But don't worry, we have some more people who were let go after doing some very recent work. Do you remember the awesome chibi icons from the recent Blue Essence Emporium? Yes, it was just about the only reward we got because the Blue Essence Emporium didn't have much. Well, Angie, the person responsible behind those icons, yeah, she's gone. That is after she fled the war in the East, she got a visa and moved to LA, and now she is stuck in LA and she can't even work at Riot. My god, if you're a game developer looking for some awesome art, you can actually become an angel. Speaking of which, another absolutely stellar concept artist is Tart, who's responsible for some of the most beloved designs such as Heartsteel Aphelios and Alune, or the Soul Fighter Shaco. Remember when people freaked out about that one? Well, the person who concepted those is gone too. And very recently, it was confirmed that even esports are not doing well. Specifically, Monte Cristo confirmed that the LEC is getting hit. In fact, they are hit so hard, they don't really know what they can do now. Apparently, they don't even have engineers now, in a segment that's all about technology. And Shox only confirmed that, and she confirmed that they are expected to just work as normal. I can't imagine going in front of a live camera just pretending that everything is okay. Which also brought up some other news. There was an article that confirmed that Riot was working on a special thing. The article titled it a rival to Twitch, which is actually misleading. Riot was not building a new platform that would be like YouTube or Twitch. They were turning their live esports channels into a proper platform where people can go, watch Valorant or League, and get some in-game rewards for it. They were basically making their own Netflix, except it's just games. But now, that was cancelled too, even before it was announced. Now lastly, there are two more things I really want to mention. Some people talked about the MMO, but I am pretty sure the MMO is as strong as it was before. I didn't see anyone with the MMO tag announce that they are leaving. On top of that, someone like Anthony Reynolds, who, you know, is one of the legendary writers at Riot, did not say anything, so I assume he's still on the MMO. Hey, this is me from the future. On the topic of the MMO not losing anyone, I just noticed something. Oh no. Oh no. Also, since Riot Forge is cancelled, people wondered about the people who were part of Riot Forge. You know, people who pulled off an incredible weight. Well, for once, the head of the Forge studio, Riot Latency, didn't say anything, except for feeling really awful about the entire situation, which is understandable, so we can actually assume that they thankfully got some another job at Riot. Because remember, not only is Latency responsible for Riot Forge, but also they did some awesome old school things such as the original Halloween map. Yeah, if they fired them, I would have no hope. But also, Bioluminescence, who is the writer for Riot Forge, also didn't mention that they would be let go. So we can assume that at least a portion of that narrative force found a new spot. That's not confirmed though, I just hope that's the case. But yes, that's kinda what I wanted to talk about. This is all just weird, because Riot let go of some insane talents. How is it possible? Everyone knows that Riot Games is not a magical entity that can spawn awesome games. Those games do originate from those magical people, but a lot of those were let go now. And the entire situation is just weird and no one understands what's actually happening. That's including all the employees. And so now everyone is just stuck waiting because, to be honest, Riot has quite a stellar job to pull off now. I mean, we better see some results from the biggest budget now.